In around 2 hours' time, the Silver Ferns will play the first international netball match since Covid-19 disrupted the sport. New Zealand's hosting the England Roses in a 3-test series starting in Hamilton tonight. Sports reporter Bridget Tunnicliffe is at Claudelands Arena in Hamilton. Bridget, how significant is this series for New Zealand netball?
Yeah, Lisa, it is pretty significant. I mean, netball in New Zealand is the largest female participation sport for women, and it would have been pretty depressing if there wasn't a test series that went ahead before the end of 2020. New Zealand netball did try hard to set up something with the Australian Diamonds, our closest rivals, but logistically it was just too difficult. But this is the next best thing. England are ranked third in the world, so this is a pretty good test for the Silver Ferns, who are looking to build towards the next World Cup.
So you kind of touched on it there, how it's fraught to get teams here. So tell us about the England Roses and what they have been through to get here.
Yeah, well, then when they arrived, of course, they had to do 2 weeks quarantine, and they only actually got out of quarantine about 6 days ago. And pretty much on the eve of them coming over here, their coach, Jess Selby, was tested positive. She had a positive COVID test, so she wasn't able to travel with the Roses to New Zealand. There is an assistant coach on the ground here, but it's not really the same as having the head coach here. And the English netballers haven't had a lot of netball. Their domestic league was cancelled back, I think it was in March this year, so only got about 3 rounds in. So they've been really short of netball over there. And yes, they have gone through a lot to get here, but I think they're just relieved and happy to be here.
So how are we looking, the Silver Ferns, going into this match?
Pretty good, I reckon. Over the weekend, the Silver Ferns had a bit of a shock win over the New Zealand men in Palmerston North. It wasn't really expected. And Coach Dame Nolene Tauro has run some pretty tough camps over the past few weeks as well. And she's created a lot of internal competition in the wider Silver Ferns squad. This, I guess, is an opportunity. Over the past 18 months, we've had the retirements of Maria Folau, Casey Kopua, and recently Laura Langman. So this is a real chance for players like Jane Watson, Emilian Ignacio and Gina Crampton to go forward and really have as much influence on this team as those past greats have. And I do have a lady here, Jenny Wiley, from CEO of Netball New Zealand. I'm sure you're very excited about tonight's game, and a lot of work has gone into it. How good is it to be hosting the first international netball since COVID?
Oh, I think that's fantastic. It's such a testament to the work that has gone on behind the scenes, and as you mentioned earlier, having England really willing to come out here and participate has been, absolutely massive. So look, we're delighted and can't wait to see international netball back on the courts.
I remember during the ANZ Premiership we saw a big spike in viewership from overseas, people wanting to watch our ANZ Premiership competition because they had nothing going on over there. Do you think we might see another spike in people trying to get their netball fix and watching these tests from around the world?
Look, and that's the feedback we're getting. There was a lot of interest generated offshore, obviously with the Cadbury series and New Zealand, the Silver Ferns playing the men's, and I think we're just seeing that momentum build, and now people know netball is back on, and we're playing the reigning Commonwealth Games champions tonight, so it's going to be a great 3-test series.
How important is it for the Silver Ferns to get this kind of competition?
Oh, it's vital. I mean, we were world champs last year, but being able to maintain that momentum, get those new combinations out there on court. Nolene is learning the style of the players, she's adapting their play, and you're going to see a different set of Silver Ferns out there this week.
And I'm sure it goes without saying that Netball New Zealand is trying as hard as it can to set up something with the Australian Diamonds, maybe early next year if we're lucky.
Well, Australia are our biggest foe in terms of netball. It's such a fierce rivalry. So, whatever the new year might bring, we need to make a couple of different iterations of plans. But, I can see Australia certainly featuring highly in those.
Thank you, Jenny. That's Netball New Zealand CEO. The crowd will start filtering in shortly for the start of the game at 7:30 tonight in Claudelands Arena. Back to you, Lisa.
Thanks, Bridget. That is Bridget Tunnicliffe there at Claudelands Arena in Hamilton. And she was speaking there to Jenny Wiley, as she said, from the CEO of New Zealand Netball. And they are expecting a big crowd there.